5.
Okay, so all right. Can everybody hear me? Good? Yeah.
Yep.
Great.
Mhm.
Yep.
So, welcome back, everybody. We got a special one for you. Godzilla Minus One discussion. I did say when this movie was coming out, before I knew that it was going to have a restricted release or a limited release, that we were going to discuss this movie. Oh, yes, we were going to discuss this movie. And I made sure that I got it up with Mara as like, we're going to discuss this movie, right? And she's like, or she had to make sure that we could. Good. Glad she could. Right now she's second busy. But other people also wanted to join in on this discussion. And you can't really talk about Godzilla with just two people. You got to have a panel. You know what I'm saying? Know what I mean? So, yeah, we are going to discuss Godzilla Minus One in details, not scene by scene. We're going to have some fun talking about other bits of the Godzilla Toho and even the Monsterverse if you want to talk about it. I mean, the Monsterverse is trying really hard to make it epic, except that this isn't the Avengers, this is Godzilla. So, that freaking Avengers Endgame run that you see Godzilla and Kong doing in GXK, it's kind of a stretch. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about Minus One. So before we get started, make sure you smash that like button, share the stream out, do as much as you can to support the channel. I always do appreciate it, folks. And let's say hello to the panel. We got Mara Jade. How you doing, Jade Shadow?
Yep, I'm doing well. So I would say not only the best or one of the best Godzilla films, but it's probably my favorite of 2023. I was like, it's. I was expecting to like it. I wasn't expecting to want to see it multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
So. And then.
Oh yeah.
The Godzilla X Kong.
Yeah, I know. Fan84. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as this movie, it's as a longtime Godzilla fan, this movie's kind of insane to me because if you were to ask me even just a few years ago that a Godzilla movie from Japan would be have a higher critic and audience rating than a Disney movie or even a Marvel movie, I probably would have laughed at you. But the world we're living right now, that's unbelievable to me. And this movie is just awesome. Yeah.
And we also have a newcomer, Wookie Be Bad. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. I tell you what, from the first time I seen the commercial for Godzilla Minus One, I knew there was something special about this. It seemed a little different than the rest of them, and it's always been the human story that propels a Godzilla movie. It keeps you in the seat while Godzilla's not on screen. This movie went over and above that. I thought Oppenheimer was going to be the best movie of the year that I had watched, and this blew Oppenheimer out of the water. This was an exceptional, heart-touching, emotion-dragging film, and then Godzilla was in it, and he was epic.
That's what I tell people who say if I criticize the human focus, it's well, I'm not criticizing the human focus. I'm criticizing when they show too much and forget that it's a Godzilla film at its core. Because even when Godzilla is not on the screen, it still feels like a Godzilla movie. He could still pop up at any time, pretty much. But it's still the humans keep you engaged. And I think that's the problem with the Monsterverse movies, where you have the 2014 one. It's too much humans. Hey, Godzilla's in the background. He's like a cameo in his own movie that's titled Godzilla. And then I think I do enjoy King of the Monsters, but I think it's too much monsters fighting. And I don't care about the humans that much.
The lack of balance.
Yes, but this one is the perfect balance.
Well, and you take Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. The human story gets long in a tooth. You're okay, now you're traveling back through time to revive King Ghidorah, to bring him back. The human story starts to get long. I mean, Toho's had its share of flops and good film, but Yeah, this was exceptional.
Skyhound, how you been?
I'm doing pretty well, Orange Chat. As a matter of fact, as I probably pointed out on my own Twitter account, that next to reviewing a recent anime film that I just finished a few days ago, I will be mentioning later on in the end. There's going to be a chance of me trying to go over a certain story that I wanted to do for some time, but I'll finally be able to get the chance of doing it though in the next few weeks.
Alrighty. So, in order for me to watch this movie, I had to sit next to a guy that really likes a lot of rum. But I managed to see this movie multiple times in order. So I just recently watched the movie to make sure it's fresh in my mind. Folks, this movie hits deep when it comes to the human story. I mean, you got this guy who's basically meant to throw his life away, Koichi Shikishima. I mean, he was a kamikaze pilot. We are going to be discussing spoilers, folks. This is the movie's been out a month. We could discuss spoilers. And the growth that this man has, the trauma he suffered. This movie really does deserve as many awards, like best acting, best freaking, special effects, best movie of the year, if awards mean anything at the Golden Globes anymore, which they don't. But this dude's acting, you actually think this man may have seen a freaking giant dinosaur and then a big old freaking Godzilla at one point in his life. His acting really hits home with the way he's reacting to the creature that is there on the screen for us. But remember, when you are shooting these things, folks, you have to use your mind. You have to pretend. You have to put this thing in your mind. It's like, okay, so which Godzilla am I seeing here? I am seeing the most terrifying freaking creature in my mind right now, and I have to act to that. Because if you're looking at the other Godzilla that's jumping up and down, freaking doing a freaking WWE drop kick and all sorts of other shit, you wouldn't be able to keep a straight face when doing that sort of acting. So it's like, we gotta step up the terror of what we or what I am seeing. I mean, I gotta really see something that's horrifying. And when they show you the first version of Godzilla in this movie, spoiler, he is an irradiated dinosaur, much like whatchamacallit, I think, or which movie was it? Because there was another movie that did the same thing.
Well, it was before he was irradiated, so he was still monstrous.
Godzilla versus King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
Yes, that one, because that one involved time travel, where they actually had to irradiate him and ensure that he got irradiated. And it's like, well, yeah, now he's more savage in that one. But in this one, this is a dinosaur that was, I mean, when I saw this the first time, I'm like, that would terrify me. That is so fucking creepy, man.
Yeah.
Godzillasaurus, yeah, exactly. Trey Courtney. So, yeah. And then you have this guy, they're like, only 20 millimeter cannons can stop it. And I'm thinking to myself,
it wouldn't work.
That ain't going to do it. That ain't going to do it. This man saved his life because he was scared. I mean, this dude was terrified. And his hands shaking. He was supposed to kill himself because he was a kamikaze pilot.
Right.
And so, I mean, this man had a conscience. He wanted to live. And he was also scared shitless. And when inevitably you have that guy that is just like, fuck it, and just loses it and shoots, it's like, oh, of course they're going to have this happen. And then Godzilla wrecks her shit. But oh my God, man, when I saw the high definition of this Godzilla coming up, I'm like, okay, they're keeping to the 54 roar and sound. They actually had to do a lot more. They actually had to enhance a little bit of the original and use more sounds for the roaring, because you can't just keep using the same one over and over.
Right.
So I'm
you have
actually
to somehow
guessing they actually
upgrade it.
grabbed up a greasy. Yeah, they grabbed up a greasy glove, started running it over those strings again, and it's like, hey, you guys did a good job with the sound, man. And a lot of people are like, that doesn't sound like Godzilla. It's like, get the fuck out of this room right now. You do not deserve to be in the presence of
Sounds
Godzilla.
more like the modern roar at the end of the roar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
I love the fact that it looked like Rubber Suit Godzilla, but it wasn't Rubber Suit Godzilla.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking when I
Yeah,
first saw
I
it the
mean-
first time.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, when you see this, or when you see him or Godzilla in this movie, you think some of this is practical effect. Some of this is a guy in a suit. No, folks, all CGI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
movies
that-
like
they-
80%
All
also.
freaking CGI.
They got me good on
And
that when I first saw it.
Yeah, the official budget. Everybody was saying, "Oh, it's $15 million," and then the other guy comes out and says, "Oh, I wish it was that much," and I'm like, "Wait, you wish it was that much because it was more expensive, or then we figure out no, it was actually under $15 million," and I'm
I
like,
think the target is 7 to 8.
Mhm.
7 to 8 million?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Damn.
the
That's
Hollywood
out
giant
of the order.
money laundering scheme right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Disney and
I mean-
Marvel, Hollywood, it all is $200 million budgets. They're $100 million films.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And yet Japan
And-
is kicking their butts in terms of economics. Crazy.
Yeah. And here's the thing.
So,
I also learned from 1 second. I also learned from D-Man 84 or 54 or whatever, or the guy, or he does a lot of he's strictly a Godzilla channel.
Mhm.
Apparently, they don't pay their actors living wage.
Minimum wage in Japan
So-
is $7 an hour.
Holy shit!
Damn.
$7 an hour is the minimum wage in Japan.
$7 US.
I looked that up. I seen somebody
That was
said
the
that.
minimum wage when I was a kid.
Yeah. Well, now
Damn.
I live in Florida and we're getting ready to go to 15.
Oh.
Good Lord. But before that, it was $7, but no one was paying it. But yeah, so the minimum wage was 17. The problem is people
Yeah.
aren't seeing the conversion rate of yen to US dollars.
Right. That's something that most people just seem to overlook.
Mhm.
Even when it comes to like when I go into like anime and all that stuff, they keep complaining about, the artists and the writers are working on it. It's like you have to understand that the way how things are in Japan is not the same case here in the US. Plus, like you mentioned about the conversion rate, if you don't understand how that works, then you shouldn't even be talking in general.
Yeah. Also, that something else people don't understand when you're working on a passion project, doing like movies, TV, stuff like that, that's things you want to do. They pay you less money because that is your desire and your goals. I went to a school that trained people to work on NASCARs. When I got a job opportunity at NASCAR, they wanted to pay me pennies on the dollar. I made way more money going to work for a dealership. So that's something else you have to look at. When it's a passion project, you're not going to get paid as much.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's true.
Also, what do you think those deep sea fish really were? Because they didn't really look like fish to me.
Oh, okay.
Or deep
So
sea fish.
there's an explanation for that. So when deep sea fish come up to the surface, because of the deep decompression, their insides go out of their mouth.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh,
kind of
so-
like a little.
Oh,
It's kind of like a little
Oof.
nod to the ending of the movie.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
But
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so the change in
Blob-
pressure. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's seen the blob.
well, I
fish.
knew it was the depressurization that killed them. I just didn't know that they had basically vomited out their stomachs when they did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah, super deep sea fish will do that.
Yep.
But yeah, it's like the blobfish
Interesting,
looks like a
okay.
blob. You put it in the water, put it in deep water, it looks like a regular fish.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
interesting.
So,
So glad we cleared that up.
And it's funny that they use decompression and compression, and we
Mhm.
just had an incident that happened earlier in the year before it released.
Oh,
Yeah.
Certain submarine.
submarine.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I noticed.
Oh my
Good
god.
point.
It was like fresh in everyone's head.
I heard. Yeah. Holy shit. I mean,
Yep.
wow. But my gosh, man, this movie, or the character of Koichi, and then the introduction to Noriko, and seeing Japan basically post World War II. This is after Nagasaki and Hiroshima happened. Plus, the
Right.
rest of Japan also got rocked by a lot of other things going on.
Mhm.
Folks, the reason why they call it -1 is because economically they were at zero. And Godzilla coming on the scene only made it worse. So what's worse than zero? Well,
Yeah.
-1. So that's why they called it -1.
So,
In
and
my
I also
opinion, anyway.
appreciated that. Not that like they wouldn't necessarily be afraid to do this, but at the same time they called out the government at the time of World War II. Especially the one character who like basically who what was his name? He was the captain of the fishing boat.
The boat captain, yeah.
Yeah, the cheap tanks and the kamikaze planes and just throwing
Yes.
soldiers to death.
Yeah.
A
Yep.
lot of Godzilla's been anti-government. You even take like Shin Godzilla. That's over the top anti-government with the bureaucratic red tape
Oh,
and
yeah.
the U.S. deciding to nuke
Yes.
Tokyo.
Yes.
So, and even you go back to 1954, it was anti-U.S.
Yeah,
Well,
or the guy at the end of 54 Gojira, he's basically talking about the evil of nuclear technology and how it would not be a good idea to have this movie or to have nuclear technology go any further.
Yep.
Which Godzilla is more scary, or Godzilla or Shin or -1?
Two different kinds of horror.
Yeah. Two different kinds. Of the two that I prefer the -1 look. I prefer the -1 look. In terms of scarier, I'd probably give the edge to Shin Godzilla because he kept evolving.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
If we're talking, I totally agree.
Going to Shin Godzilla for a moment, folks, because me and Mara discussed this on a singles one time. I think it was November. The Godzilla, or a lot of that one was digital as well. If it wasn't for Shin Godzilla, we would not have the tight CGI that we had in this one. Now, I'm not saying the CGI was perfect by any means. There were some scenes that, well, you could very much tell it was CGI. You even had a couple of frame skips. Yeah. Did they have animatronics?
Animatronics were cool.
For Shin Godzilla, yeah. I mean, especially the one with the mouth, where the mouth is basically Blade 2 vampire mouth. But that tail, that shot in Shin, where the tail is going over the people, and I'm like, was that like an animatronic tail? I find out, and I actually saw the CG stills and whatnot, that was a CG tail. I'm like,
Wow.
This shit looks real.
Yeah.
This shit look real.
Yeah.
And so we get this one, and I saw the trailer for this. When I saw the trailer, or that small teaser, where it's just him bringing his mouth down on the train, I went over that thing with a fine-tooth comb. I freaking hijacked my mom's TV, and I freaking put that up there, and I'm like, 4K, high resolution, and I'm like, I'm not seeing a digital flaw here. What the hell is going on? And so, yeah, I had to do a reaction video to that. It's like, what the fuck? I mean, it hits you that this movie can put a Godzilla that looks as real as possible and yet is a CGI creation. And what do we get in Hollywood?
We get
A
Avengers
running-
Assemble and God X Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought of a bit more
Well,
Fast
that's
and
like-
Furious. I thought Godzilla was going to look at the camera and go, "It's all about family."
Okay.
Really had a fast,
Good one.
that running
Yeah.
scene really had a Fast and Furious feel.
I mean, a lot of people are still hyped for GX or for Godzilla and Kong, but I mean, I'm more curious because I am a MonsterVerse fan. I love King of the Monsters. I went to see King of the Monsters 8 times in theaters, 8 days in a row,
Mhm.
and it's like I wanted that movie to do well, and if I could contribute as much as I could to it, I was going to. And I gotta say, I like the design of Rodan in that one.
Mhm.
Because like when he's going up against the Raptors and the F-35s, it's like you guys are thinking this is just a big dumb turkey. It's not a big dumb turkey. The way he's
Yeah.
looking around, the way he's
Yeah.
responding to you all, that
And
is
then
a
the-
very intelligent monster.
He's called
Not to
Fire
re-
Beast for a reason. So
Yeah.
Not to mention though,
Yeah.
he was literally the creature was doing a barrel roll right when he was surrounded by those F-35s and just obliterated them in one go.
Yeah,
monster
I mean,
stuff in
you
that
even
movie-
saw the look he had on his face. He's like, "Oh, I see what you're doing, barrel roll, bitches," and it's like, "Oh shit." The only problem with, or the main problem with Hollywood, we're going to go to marketing right now, folks. Godzilla, or -1 Godzilla, their marketing for this movie was very small and very secretive. Where
hmm
King of the Monsters, GXK, I mean, they're very secretive on showing Shimu on screen, the first Titan and all that, but they're basically showing you all the sweet spots again, the sweet shots. And it's like, you guys made that mistake when you went insane with the marketing for King of the Monsters. You showed all the good shit. You showed all the secrets.
Yeah. Well, that's like
That's why the movie didn't do good in theaters.
it's again with like bringing up God X Kong, and I don't know if you all saw my tweet, but all I did was I took a still, like screenshot of how Godzilla looked in one
Yep.
scene, and all I asked
With
was,
pink, yeah.
"Where the fuck's the blue?" Because in like my mind, like something's going on. Why are you revealing this in the trailer?
Right.
And I had people come into my
Mhm.
mentions going, "Well, obviously you haven't seen other Godzilla movies. Obviously you're a noob." Like they're trying to explain to me everything, and I'm like,
And they tried to call out Millennium where he's got like pink tips. They're like barely visible.
Mhm.
And on my copy
Yeah,
of it,
the
he
big tips. It's like,
Oh,
yeah, and Millennia.
so I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I get it. The shade will alter based on like his level of power, or if he's going nuclear, meaning like he's about ready to die.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so my point
Burning,
is not that
yeah.
I'm expecting him not to have changed from blue at all, but at the same time,
looks like Miami.
yeah, so it's like, like what's happening? Is he getting a power up of some sort, or is he going to go nuclear in this movie? What are you revealing in this trailer?
No, it just looks like he's hot pink throughout.
So
I mean, yeah, that's all we really want to know. I mean, are we going to see Godzilla get his ass kicked by the Scar King thingy and then see him go into a hibernation or something? And I mean, we had no problem with the color. We just wondered what's the different. I mean, I'm hoping for
What's
some
the connection?
consistency here.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Well, like I said
mean,
in the chat, that they started
in
with those
the-
colors in Godzilla versus Kong. Half the buildings were pink and half the buildings were blue.
Yeah.
And that's the color palette
Yeah.
for the new movie.
mhm.
And
A
it's
lot of
like-
neon.
it has nothing to do. Nobody's caring or nobody's saying that Godzilla is transgender or anything like that.
Yeah, they are.
Nobody was saying that at all. It's just what's with the pink. A lot of there are those idiots out there that are gonna freaking go with the whole.
Yeah.
Oh my god, they're gonna say that he's trans or some shit, and it's like, I don't think that's what's going on here. I shared a photo on Twitter that shows the radiation scale and the color scale for radiation, pink happens to be the highest level of gamma radiation in a radiation scale.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing this dude just went freaking Frieza final form. Basically, is what
I'd be fine with that. But if they're like he's pink
some
because
people
he
might
took
actually
his
understand.
crystal or something
Which,
like that.
which is like, I'm fine with it. I just have a problem with them revealing it in the trailer. Like, that's something should have been saved
Yeah.
for the release.
Right.
Pretty much. Like, oh my god,
Exactly.
he's
I
going
mean-
nuclear.
Because like what I've noticed with most films these days, even back then before I even started this channel and all that, is that roughly I'd say about maybe 2010 onward, that's when you start to notice that these people don't know how to make a trailer anymore. You're supposed to reveal very little to have the audience get interested to go watch the film, and then they'll see the rest of the stuff, unfold as time goes by. Nowadays, they're just revealing their entire hand. And I'm like, there's always people that kept saying, dude, you just revealed the entire film in a damn trailer. I'm like, no shit.
Yes.
Yeah. So, real quick, getting back to Godzilla Minus One, real quick. Did you know the main character's name, Koichi Shikishima? Shikishima was actually the first successful kamikaze squadron. Fun fact.
Oh.
I think somebody was saying in the
Interesting.
comments on one of my videos that his name translates to the first son.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That too. Yeah. So there's a lot of nuances there. Another thing too, historically speaking, when it comes to post-World War II Japan,
Mhm.
not just where the cities decimated, but there is no actual government anymore. During the military occupation under MacArthur, I mean, everything had to be completely restored from the ground up. One of the first things they did was they went to try to find all the loyalists, arrest them, that type of thing. But one of the things they realized quickly is that many of them committed suicide. So it was really hard to do like war tribunals there because most of them, including their whole families, were dead. They pretty much committed suicide, and it actually caused a lot of rift with a lot of Asian nations that wanted to see like a war tribunal, and they never got one because there was no one to really try.
Yeah, they all Harry carried.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, in Japan, ritual suicide or Harry carry is actually an honorable way to go. Where we view suicide here in the West as the ultimate coward's way out. These guys see it as we've done our duty, we have no more purpose. It's time to die, or it's time to die. Or they also there's many reasons, or not Harry carry, but seppuku.
Yeah, seppuku.
Yeah, I had the wrong phrase.
Terminology there.
Yeah, seppuku is ritual suicide. Yeah.
Which this movie flies in the face of that, actually.
Harry carry something else.
It still flies in the face of it, but at the same time, it's like it still kind of like plays into at least like the mentality of like the residents, because you have Koichi returning home, and the woman who lost her children in one of the bombing raids is like, wait, weren't you a kamikaze pilot?
Oh yeah, a neighbor of his though. When she sees him back, she's like, "Why are you still here though? You should have been gone."
Yeah.
And she's pretty much like berating him. Like once he brings in Noriko and Akiko, she's like, "Oh, now you're taking them in?" He's like, "What is with you?"
Yeah. But she actually has a very good character arc. I mean, even for her side character, that's hardly seen. Because she mentions that her children died. And so in a very interesting way, she kind of becomes like the aunt of the child and almost gets a second chance to help raise a child.
Akiko.
I like how she's like, I don't care anymore. And then she's like, whose parents are the baby? And then she finds out the baby has no parents. And she's like over there. She goes, there goes my prized white rice.
Yeah.
Yes. Which that is true. That is
white rice.
Yeah, that was actually very prized. Yeah. So her giving that is like an amazing sacrifice.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, the way that they had, or I also do like how they do the passage of time. I hate saying words passage of time nowadays. Thanks, Kamala. But the passage of time in this movie is actually well done. They also show that Shikishima is also very much there's a mix of shame as well as survivor's guilt, and he plays it very well. When he wakes up from that nightmare where he's asking, is this Japan? Did I live and whatnot? And then we see the Bikini Atoll test. And we see Godzilla kind of get hit by it. And we then hear the 54 roar after his eye gets blown off.
Yeah, what I found interesting is that, like, even though it's only for, like, I'd say maybe like 5-10 seconds length, when we see Godzilla like looking at the blast, you can sort of see like how his eye is. It's pretty clear that we know he's going to be affected, though. But as for how long it's going to take, it's almost hard to tell at first until he shows up on landfall.
Well, and this Godzilla is kind of small, and they show like the same thing when he's rebuilding himself down in the trench. So I get the feeling we're actually going to get like a full size Godzilla after this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is going to be he's basically going to be regenerating into a much bigger one, possibly.
Oh yeah, Neozoic. I did bring that up.
I mean, if they made him MonsterVerse size, all he would have had to do was just step on Japan, and Japan's fucked.
Yeah,
where
because there were no
he's like a quarter of the size of MonsterVerse.
Yeah. Oh
yeah, he's the size of the original, I do believe. He's the original. He's the size of the 54, and that's actually the perfect size for this setting, because not only was Godzilla all digital in this film, Japan, the set extension, the background for Japan, all had to be digitally teched down to make it look like it was the 40s.
Yeah.
So,
and I prefer this size. I mean, granted, I expect him to be bigger, but the reason why I kind of have a problem with him being as big in the MonsterVerse as he is because they kind of had to scale up Kong to make him a believable foe to Godzilla, so to speak. And it just doesn't quite work for me.
It's hard to do the ground levels.
Well, they covered that in the MonsterVerse. I've actually pointed that out. Where if you actually take the because I actually did the math for the growth of Kong from the 70s to the 2010s, it actually works. Where they also did Godzilla going from like 390 feet to 300 or 370 feet to like 390 feet in 5 years, where Godzilla went from Kong went from like 140 to 380 or something, because he was still smaller than Godzilla. They actually the growth actually works for both of them from 5 years for Godzilla and for the 40 years for Kong. The math pretty close to each other. It was like 7 feet per year or some shit.
But now we're getting
and for Godzilla, it was like 7 feet per year. Say what?
Now we're getting hundreds of Kongs in the new movie.
Oh yeah, I know. Right? It's like, what is this, Planet of the Kongs, or is this going to be Godzilla Kong?
Oh gosh.
But the Ginza attack, and this is where I'm going to do my joke, folks. Everybody loves Ginza attack, but let's drop the actual context and let's just do a little bit of Elseworlds here. What if Godzilla had a cold and he was just trying to stroll into land to kind of just clear his sinuses? I mean, he's been out in the salty water all that time, and he just needed to get some medicine. And well, he's got all the shit in his way, and then suddenly, I mean, he's like, well, what the fuck, man? Is this some medicine? I'm gonna take a bite out of it. It's a train. And he's like, okay, this tastes like shit. Yuck, man. And so, well, this thing's in my way, so kind of please move over. I'm trying. Oh, well, oh shit, god damn it. So now, and then suddenly you get all this dust kicked up in his face from all the tanks, and he just sneezes really hard and accidentally blows up the place. So it's like, what? Fuck. And all he wanted was a cold medicine. You know? It's like, why do I feel this tingling coming up my spine? Oh shit! Did I just blow up the place again? Fuck! I mean, so basically, when he's roaring with that mushroom clown, so when he's roaring at the mushroom cloud, he's like, "Fuck! I did it again! I didn't mean to blow up that place, but god damn it! I keep sneezing and it's just killing me." I mean, I know this movie has some serious tones to it, folks, but just use a little bit of
imagination.
And, oh, got it. Yeah.
See, that needs to be a robot
imagination, because there is a book out there. Yeah, right. There is a book out there of the three little pigs from the wolf's perspective. All he wanted was a little bit of sugar. He was sick, and he accidentally sneezed down the damn houses.
Oh yeah, I remember that book.
Because he was kind of hungry too.
Yeah,
so, I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, and so it's like, oh shit, man. But when he hit that, I mean, the destroyer from the Takao, or the Takao, or however you pronounce it, that sucker was really hitting into Godzilla. Their guns were just like smashing Godzilla. He's actually reacting. He's like, oh fuck, ow, okay, this hurts.
Yeah.
So that's when he goes all freaking ape shit, lizard shit on the ship. But when these tanks start hitting him, he's like, okay, what was that?
Way smaller guns.
Right.
Yeah. That's something
definitely smaller guns.
With the mine, and they blow like the side of his head off, and he drops dead in the water, and then it regenerates, and he comes back to life.
Yeah,
that was horrific.
Yeah,
because it's not Godzilla just bouncing shots off. Like, you cannot kill this guy. It's like fighting Venom.
Oh yeah,
he's just going to keep coming back. And the fact that he has like the new scar tissue and stuff like that on him after each fight looks amazing.
Yeah.
I thought
it looks really, really good.
like.
Because like when I saw that the first
maintained the scar, they actually maintained.
Yeah, I think it darkened
Go
towards the end of the movie, but it was still like you could see all the damage he'd taken. Like his chest was still ripped open when he went into Ginza, and it was still pink right there. It still had the hard nose. I thought that was an epic move to make, because it actually added a little bit of a humanity to Godzilla when you actually see him take damage, instead of like Shin, where he's just taking the bullets and it doesn't even affect him.
Right. That's a good comparison.
He was doing micro evolutions in Shin.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally see micro evolutions as he's getting attacked. When they were dropping the bombs, when they hit the bombs in or around his eye, you actually see the lens go over his eye really quick. That was actually the first evolution for the nictating lens.
Yeah, right. But I'm saying, like, when the tanks are hitting him and he's just standing there, he's like, bah, 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 bah,
you were going to say something, Skyho?
No, I mean, I get what Wookie was talking about, but
I mean,
I noticed that when I saw it the first time, though, like with the bomb going off on Godzilla, and then it just grew back. I mean, not only was the animation really good, but the first thing that was going through my head, if they really tried to go all out on him, though, that's going to be a really long, drawn-out fight, because, as you said, with Venom, he's just going to keep coming. Like, I kept thinking in the back of my head after I saw the ending of it, I was like, who knows how this is going to turn out, though, in the next one.
Yeah.
Well,
they're bringing Mothra in,
and one of the things I like about
wrong movie.
Yeah. What were you saying, G-Fan?
Oh, well, another thing that's interesting too. If you guys remember the very first trailer they showed, one of the slogans toward the end of the trailer was "Survive and Fight," and I think that actually applies to both the humans and Godzilla. He survived, and he decides to fight.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's true. I can
So-
see how that
And
happens.
I,
Yeah.
So does our
and
main-
basically, I love how it's almost a juxtaposition, like a comparison between the humans and Godzilla, because Godzilla views Japan as his territory.
Mhm.
And for the Japanese, it's their homeland. So each one is fighting for their territory.
That's true.
Do you
And
think they're going to
Also, I love in this movie. They might be doing that. They might, but they also are saying that it's not, or the next Godzilla movie is probably going to be 2027 or 2028. They're
Yeah, but it's going to be
waiting a
Godzilla. It's
while
gonna be
because they
not
want,
Minus One.
yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be. at the
And,
same
but
time-
also another thing I really loved about this movie. I loved about this movie was it wasn't the military that fought against Godzilla. It was the people that fought
Mhm.
against Godzilla.
Mhm.
Yes, they they were reusing military equipment, but it was not military people that were doing this.
Well, it was all demilled too.
This
If you
was-
notice, the troopers didn't have any guns.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that is another thing that I like. It's basically like the Ewoks in Battle of
Return of the
Endor, or not Battle of Endor, but Return of the Jedi, where it's the smallest, yet they're still the most effective. I mean, you have
It's
freaking teddy
comparable
bears
to
taking down an
shit.
empire.
Where when the government was dissolved, the nerds still figured out how to stop it. It's comparable
Yeah.
in that
Mhm.
fashion. I did really
Yeah.
enjoy the anti-government sentiment about the Soviets getting pissed off, the U.S. not wanting to do anything, Japan not wanting to do anything. It's just bureaucratic red tape bullshit. I completely completely enjoyed that speech. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, another thing
And not
is,
to-
go ahead,
ahead.
go ahead, Orange. Oh, okay.
No,
All
you
right.
go ahead.
Okay. Well, another thing too. When they were writing the script for this, it was actually during COVID, and you kind of used the idea that he felt that the government did abandon them, did abandon people, and so it was the people themselves that had to band together and actually, go on living their life. So you can see that sentiment in this movie when you look at the dialogue, even though it's technically taking place, back during post-war Japan, but you can see that when it comes down to it, we have to rely on each other. We can't just rely on some entity to do it for us.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to see that group come together and be able to get it done. And they were like, "Well, we don't know. Well, we don't know, but this is our only hope." And I got to admit, the compression, decompression, it still reminded me of the oxygen. Was it oxygen
Destroyer. Oxygen
Destroyer.
Destroyer.
at the end there? But it was different.
Destroyer.
Mhm.
Yeah. And and I can never remember these guys' names because
Yeah.
I have to read it. Him figuring out to hurt him from the inside with that plane was amazing. Now, how they go forward with this is going to be different. Considering the director's coming back, supposedly the writer is coming back to do the next movie. There was supposed to be a Shin 2, but they canceled that. That's what I understand. I wish they'd do an animated version of it. I think it would be better there. They want to go
Yeah,
full
because
out.
they realized that Shin Godzilla 2 would have been way. I mean, you have this thing frozen completely solid, and yet it was already evolving just as it gets frozen, even though that was small inconsistency there, because when you see him frozen the first time when he finally got frozen, his tail wasn't splitting. So then you see him in the last shot, you see the committee. It takes a committee to stop him, so Godzilla was becoming a committee unto himself.
Yeah.
And just imagine all of these things being able to fire a little bit of energy out their snout.
It'd be a
So,
great
yeah,
attack
that would
on
have been
Titan,
creepy.
wouldn't it?
It wouldn't have been able.
The
Kind
name
of
of the,
possibly. I've never seen Attack on Titan, to be completely honest.
the name of the
Oh.
engineer, it was Kenji Noda was the name of the character.
No, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think all of these guys were involved in Kamen Rider.
I
too.
just
Half
called
of
them the Japanese on line.
Some I might
That
recognize
doctor, I
from
just called him
some
the
other.
Japanese Einstein.
I might probably recognize a few from some other tokusatsu shows. I might have to look it up.
This is a good question from Neozoic. Do you think that Godzilla works best in a historic rather than modern setting?
Ugh.
It's a good question.
Well, this is actually the first
it
one
can
that
work
truly,
in both settings if done right.
yeah. If done right, it can work in both settings. This is the first one that they actually did set in the past. Almost every Godzilla movie in Japan was set at the present when it was actually made. So, yeah, that's an interesting question. It's like Oren said, if it's done right, if it's got a good script, great actors, it can definitely work both ways.
It depends on Godzilla. So Shin he was just created. We've had Future Wars where Godzilla existed long ago and still exists in the future. We've had Godzilla versus King Ghidorah where it's time travelers and they know about Godzilla. So I think Godzilla is universal. It just depends on the people that are depicting him.
Right.
And I think Toho is still the best at depicting Godzilla.
Yeah. There is I'm not talking about the recent comics where he's fighting the Justice League and literally killing them, but there was one where Godzilla went to hell and then went to heaven and killed both. I'm like, oh damn, this dude Godzilla literally went to hell, killed hell, and then he went to heaven and killed God. Essentially.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself,
and he killed the Greek gods.
what? Yeah. And it's like, holy shit, man. But then they have these ones coming out where it's the MonsterVerse versus DC, and he freaking one-shot Superman. And I'm thinking to myself, right.
I find it hard to
As
believe.
much as I love Godzilla, and I love the fact that he freaking killed Superman, I'm having a hard time believing that he killed Superman. Because, I mean,
considering both creatures live off radiation.
Superman.
Yeah.
They God modded Superman when they did the New 52. Nothing can kill him except Kryptonian shit. And even then, if he goes his all-star Superman in his little gold thing where he's regenerating like every picosecond, how the hell are you supposed to kill him? And then they God modded him further because God made him unerasable, which basically made the whole Goku versus Superman fight absolutely moot now. So Death Battle really kind of sucked the pooch on, or screwed the pooch on that one. It's like, if God made him unerasable, this isn't a death battle. You can't kill him.
Yeah.
So yeah, because I did the definitive death battle with Goku versus Superman, and Goku won because he knows the Hakai.
Doesn't Superman live off radiation from the sun? Like that's what gives him his power, radiation from our yellow sun.
Yes, but also Goku now can essentially tap into powers above godhood. I mean, he's
I'm saying like Godzilla versus Superman.
So it's but he also knows the instant kill.
Yeah, they both eat radiation though.
He feeds off, or Superman feeds off of life and solar radiation. Basically, he can grab a sunflower and regenerate himself by killing the sunflower. That's the kind of stuff that they allow him to do. They can't remain consistent with Superman. That's why I don't like Superman. I like Batman. But the fact that fucking Godzilla killed him was pretty insanely fun. But going back to -1, especially with the final battle where they actually show him trying to bite the plane. That plane looks so weird. It took me like 5 times watching it to finally get past the weird looking plane.
It's real.
Because it looked backwards the entire time.
Only
I know
so many
real,
were made. So
that plane was designed by Germans. That's why it had ejection seat in it, because it's a German ejection seat.
Yeah, I could read German. I knew the ending.
And
that's another thing that I actually like in this movie. Yeah. Was in another 2023
G.I. Joe had a
Tetsu
reverse
film,
wing
Shin
drop.
Kamen Rider as Rurika.
Oh,
Yeah. And that's the thing that I actually like is that he had to have written the most horrifying letters to Tachibana to get him to come back. I mean, it's like,
Oh yeah.
what the hell is this shit? Auto Island was my fault? You mother.
Yes.
I mean, but
Okay.
it was a
Because I
smart
love how
move.
Tachibana.
It was a smart move. You want to find a guy who doesn't want to be
Oh, yeah.
found.
yeah,
Use
that was actually pretty clever.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like, what?
That's
It's
the
like-
thing about the movie is like
I mean, it's
everybody
like,
came
oh,
to
shit.
grips with their problems.
Yeah.
Like everybody came to grips with their
Yeah.
survivor, kill, and everything
Mhm.
with Godzilla. Too
Yeah.
bad they all die because if you read the
And-
novelization, they all had extreme
Yeah.
radiation poisoning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's actually
But,
something they showed at the end of this movie, which was with Noriko. You had that stuff crawling up her neck, so it's like, yeah,
So-
she's not long for the
Yeah.
world.
Somebody
even
tried
though
to
she
tell me that
survived.
was a neck goiter, which is your thyroid swelling,
Hmm.
which does not look like a tattoo crawling up the side of your neck. That's a
There's
G.
no way. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
It had to be
Yeah.
radiation poisoning.
she was dying
Yeah.
because
I'll-
of radiation poisoning.
Also, another thing too, if you look at what's left of Godzilla's body and as it starts to regenerate, did you guys notice it looks like a tumor? Godzilla is literally the cancer
Yeah.
of Japan right now.
Yeah.
That's what they're
Yeah.
simplifying.
Yeah,
radiation.
and
Yeah.
it's a metastasizing cancer that's coming back.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No.
So, and also one of the things that I read up on is like, why did they salute Godzilla? And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, I tested my theory because I looked it up to see if my theory was right. They, even though Godzilla was terrorizing Japan, he wasn't evil in their eyes. He was an animal.
Mhm.
So they were simply honoring his sacrifice for their survival. So in a way, they actually respected the monster that they had to destroy.
Mhm.
Not
That's
to mention
true.
that Freon plan was pretty freaking genius.
And
for
also,
the
he was the greatest enemy they fought.
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's
he was greater than the
That's
U.S.
true.
because this was a walking atom bomb,
Mhm.
and the U.S. just went back to sleep nuclear wise until Bikini Atoll.
Yeah.
But it's like you are the one thing that the Japanese said. I fear we have woken a sleeping giant when they attacked Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
And well, yeah, they kind of did. Also,
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor could have couldn't have been prevented, but it could have been understood if the U.S.
you-
government had let the Japanese emissary into the White House at the time.
Have you seen Tora?
Yes. Excellent movie. Excellent
I've
movie.
heard, I've heard of that one.
It basically shows piecing together the puzzle of the intelligence they gather, and then like the final piece was right there, but they like just didn't realize it until too late.
I
And
thought it
also
was
the
neat that they knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also too, another thing that happened was this is
Oh, yeah.
really what happened. The translator had trouble translating the declaration of war, so Pearl Harbor actually already happened by the time they even gave them their declaration, which kind of insulted Simpson, who was the Secretary of State at the time, and he never forgave the Japanese for that. It's kind of interesting when you really look at the full story about that. Then Tora does an amazing job because especially all the actors who are the Japanese, they actually speak Japanese in the movie. So half of the movie is actually in Japanese.
So, are you saying the government failed once again?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, one other thing
World War
too
II
that I
was
wanted to
a
add.
failure of all governments, including the U.S.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the other things I wanted to also really mention, and it's one of the things that kind of gets overlooked with Minus One, is not just the actors' like dialogue, but their facial expressions say more words than what they can even say. Like you almost forget it's a subtitled movie because their facial expressions are just universal. You know exactly what they're thinking. When Tachibana realizes that Koichi, uh, was when he knew that the plane, nothing was wrong with the plane, and Koichi turns his back on him. You can see on his face like the disappointment. It was like a dad being disappointed in their kid. Like it's like a universal like look that you give somebody when you realize, oh no, you're lying.
They're
to
very
me.
expressive.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, like when they're on the
Yeah.
plane and he goes to fly the plane, and when they're on the boat and he goes to fly the plane into Godzilla's mouth, it reminded me so much of anime. The way they animated their faces
Mhm.
as the
Oh
plane,
yeah.
because they're like big eyes, open mouth.
Not the
The boat captain saying, "If you orphan
Yeah.
that child, I'll never forgive you."
Yeah,
Right.
Mhm.
And
It had,
and
it had a lot of anime feels.
also,
yes.
and that is another thing about this. The way that they all did their seppuku at the end of World War II is basically, as I was saying, they had no reason to live beyond their duty. In this, where he was supposed to die for his country, he still had a reason to live, which is
Yep.
why he used the ejection seat, which Tachibana told him live.
Yes.
And you also see at the beginning of this movie when he pulls into, or when he lands on Odo Island, when he pulls back the cockpit window, you see that this man is literally wrestling with fear because he doesn't want to die.
Yes.
He doesn't understand the imperialistic order to essentially kill yourself for your country. I mean, yes, there is fighting for your country, but live if you can. You know, you shouldn't
Well,
just
there's
throw
also-
yourself away needlessly.
Yeah, there's also when he goes home and he sits there in the blown up house, and he's reading the letter from his mom,
Yeah.
return home alive if possible.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you also have that was like pushing him to stay alive at the same time.
Yes.
He returns home and both of his parents are dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I mean, one thing that I
you know,
go ahead.
okay. Another thing too was that moment when he has that kind of breakdown. Noriko comforts him. He's literally talking
Yeah.
about like, "Am I already dead?" This PTSD that he has is like so strong. He actually thinks this is the last wish of a dying man. He actually says that in dialogue, and it's so powerful. Especially I was in the military. I think Jade, you were in the military too, and we have seen soldiers with very, very severe PTSD, and that just hit me like a ton of bricks. That scene he did. I mean, just amazing acting, but also almost too real from my experience.
Yeah, so like
Definitely at home.
very, very
Yeah.
real, which is why I very much loved when Tochibana tells him to live, because Tochibana realized at that point this man really intends on killing himself.
Right.
And he's I think he's also because he blamed Koichi for the
What
death
happened
of
on-
what happened on the island, and so while we didn't see Tachibana until the end, you could tell that he's gone through his own kind of survivor's guilt as well. I think like a little bit, which is why he became so angered from the letters that were sent to him, and then the process of repairing the plane and interacting with Koichi again. He's like real and coming to terms with, we've both lived with our guilt long enough.
Well, and he pulls those pictures out and sees he's carrying that guilt.
Yeah.
He's
He's been carrying that guilt this whole time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that that scene at the funeral for Noriko, where he looks down at the photos again, and he's like, "You just can't let it go." Kind of like, because right before the Ginza attack, he really feels like he can live again, and then Godzilla just takes it all away from him again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like him like saying, like, this is my fate. My fate is to be the last one left when everyone else has gone. And it's, again, this movie is so multi-layered, more so than what it should be for, when you think about it, it's a giant atomic dinosaur destroying a city. And yet this movie has so many layers and so much emotion to it. This movie is like the journey. It's the hero's journey kind of movie, and it's almost something that feels so lost in modern Hollywood. It's like how this is just great storytelling.
Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to bring up though is that you'll notice that near towards the climax of the film, there was that one crew member from the Shinsei Maru who kept saying that he wanted to join in the fight, and then the others are telling him you're still a young kid though, keep trying live your life. So by the time it gets to trying to bring Godzilla up, and the crew are struggling because for some reason he's resisting the pull. That's when the tugboats come in, and then they're like, "We're really glad to see you guys because we could really use the help."
Yes,
well, that was a Rise of Skywalker moment that actually worked.
Yes,
yeah,
it really was, when the cavalry comes in of regular people and everybody's so happy to see him, and it works for the film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear all the boat captains,
and that's another thing that actually.
So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're
And
emotionally
you hear
connected.
all of them saying that we're here to help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's real.
One of the things that I also liked about that kid, the kid that was on the boat, saying that he wished the war had gone on longer, and when Koichi just grabs him and it's like, you better not mean that, because this is a man who missed his chance because he was too young and doesn't know the horrors of war, and yet he just got confronted by somebody who does know full well the horrors of war and beyond, due to Godzilla was not a part of the war. He just happened to be there. So this is you see that this kid realizes he kind of screwed up by saying that. Or a lot of people, myself included, back when I was younger, is like, I wish I could have gone over to war and whatnot. And I heard veterans, older veterans from World War II and ones from Vietnam and all. I would not wish any war experience on anyone. We volunteered to go over. Some of us didn't volunteer. We were forced to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's what goes on over there. People don't talk about it for a reason, because, well, the people around them can't relate in any shape, way, or form unless they were over there and actually understood what happened.
Yeah.
For me, that's why back when I was younger, I used to say I could probably handle it. It's like, I don't know if I can or now as I'm older, I say, I don't know if I can handle war. I don't know if I can handle it over there. I never went through it. Sure, I played a bunch of video games. Video games are video games. They ain't the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I mean, in my case, I may have read about it in history books, though, but actually experiencing it is a totally another thing. Even if I'm reading the stories of other veterans, or if I hear it from others, if I meet them face to face, they have gone through hell and other shit that I wouldn't understand. Even at a superficial level, they understand more than I could, because there are multiple layers with regards to war. And with the whole PTSD thing, I mean, there's a lot of people that have, gone through like traumatizing experiences, like even with our main character. It may be through war, it may be through some sort of abuse, but they understand things that these people who are just, pretending to have the condition will never understand.
Mhm.
I have to say that question's absolutely, they're 100% correct with that. It was done in a metaphor rather than shoved down your
Yes.
throat,
Mhm,
rather
definitely a
than paraded
metaphor.
down the street. And Toho is known for being
Hollywood-
anti-government, anti-US, and all this stuff. But it's Japan. It's not a U.S. company
Mhm.
preaching down about their own country.
Yeah.
Really. They're preaching down about Imperial Japan.
In Hollywood, yeah, Hollywood actually managed to be very nuanced and very subtle back in the day. It's just that
Good problem.
they lost their collective minds in the last 8 years, and they said, you know what, we're not going to hide it anymore.
So, well, then they wouldn't have lost their collective minds. That means they were just hiding it very well, and they decided to.
I think it's all planned and
Unleash it.
propagated to go
Yeah.
along with whatever else is going on.
So,
Right
but
now.
that's why, like, whenever I would criticize something, like, I know it's Twitter, so idiots congregate on Twitter. Whenever I criticize something like about a certain property, they try to lecture me on, this always had politics in it, or this always, and like, it's not politics. Politics is not commentary. Commentary is subtle. Commentary is allegorical. Commentary is universal, where you could translate from this medium to another time period and would still work. But when you have current day politics in this medium, you're dating it. It's no longer an allegory. It's no longer a commentary because it is now set in this particular time period. In this case, it works because it could be a commentary on the Imperial Japan, which it was, but it also can be universal up till now, commentary on current day governments and the impactfulness on what happened, when COVID happened and the citizens thought they were being abandoned and feeling like they had to take control of their own lives.
Yeah.
It works.
I got an easy example. Rebel Moon uses modern day cuss words instead of fluffy nerf herder. Or just saying made up words. When you use the current language, you are dating yourselves. You are not a timeless piece.
No,
unless it's a period piece.
Well, when it's a period piece, then it's like yes, but even then, allegories would still translate from the time period it is to whatever. But yeah, period would be like, I would not expect a Mustang to roll up in a period piece set during Mozart's time. It's or words that I say now, words that I know now, slang I know now, to show up in a movie about, say, when Napoleon just came out, the Napoleonic Wars.
Yeah, it's just like they're using modern words in sci-fi films. It doesn't work. You have to figure out a way to get your nuance in there, and get your digs while you can, and not remove the viewer from the movie.
Another thing too that I wanted to bring up.
That's why Star Wars worked so well on multiple mediums.
Yeah. But what I wanted to bring up real quick, the critical and audience reviews for this movie have been stellar. But one of the things I did notice too is I noticed different reviewers, different audience members that have commented on this movie normally don't like the same movie, which to me means if you make a good movie with a good script, with great acting, it's going to be universally liked. Yeah, sure, it won't be perfect, but it will be universally liked. And these movies that they're making out now are so divisive, it's almost like they're doing it on purpose, though, so that it can be divisive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's just amazing what happens when just a good movie is released.
Yeah, I mean, look at what they're. And that's the thing. Hollywood doesn't like it right now. Hollywood hates Godzilla Minus One. That's why they only allowed them to have 1 or 2 nominations because this movie actually is better than anything Hollywood has put out in the entirety of 2023. And I say that literally because objectively, if you look at this movie objectively, you have writing, acting. I mean, even a 3-year-old girl is better acting than most of the Hollywood in 2023. I mean, it's like you have this girl, Akiko, or Akiko.
Yeah. Yeah.
She could cry on cue. It's like, we need you to cry now. This kid just rips, and it's like, I feel that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
She
Not
looked
to
a little
mention,
goofy.
did they shoot this over 3 years? Because I could have sworn that the baby and the 3-year-old were the same kid, like actually the same kid. Because I could have sworn the baby and the toddler was actually the same kid because they look very close. The eyes look like they match, so it's either siblings or I don't know. They shoot it over 3 years. Does make one wonder.
They said they did. As far as I know from what director said is he started writing the script during COVID. They started, according to him, they started shooting like a year and a half ago. So I'm not really sure. I mean, you know, that's according to what he's saying. Toho, especially Toho, is very, very secretive about like how their movie productions work because they still want to keep some of the magic, you know, in their eyes. So they won't reveal every little thing. They won't let them.
Well, I mean, they did an excellent job with the trailer.
And that's understandable. And I'm very
even the behind the scenes stuff is there's a lot of stuff you don't get to see while they're showing it.
Yeah, so you point out even the
what could be bad? I just got to say,
trailers.
Sorry.
I do a stream with My Nerdy Home, and we reacted to one of the trailers during one of the streams. And I love Steph. She's the normiest of normies when it comes to Godzilla, and even she was like I'm going to go see this. Like she was excited just from the trailers.
Yeah. But yeah, what could be bad? I was going to say that your door on your side there looks like Zool wants to come out and play.
Are you the gatekeeper?
There's a pink glow around your door, and it's like I keep thinking that there's going to be ghosts coming out his door any minute. But getting back to Godzilla Minus One, that I gotta say, when it came to Godzilla's posing with his arms out like this, and when that's very anime stylish, because when he's getting ready to launch his attack, I mean, you see like in shows like Goku or like in Dragon Ball Z, when they're powering up, they have their arms to their sides and up, like they're flexing a little bit. So it's like that is just such a very anime pose, and they did it well with Godzilla, especially when he's about to launch his frozen atomic breath, because he comes up. I mean, his eyes are iced over from the decompression and the freon and whatnot. It's like, damn, this dude got fucked up, but he's still willing to try to blast everybody. But it's what did you guys pick that up? Mind you.
Oh yeah, you could see like the skin falling off of him and everything. There's a lot of detail in this movie. A super like even more detail than they need to put in it.
Oh yeah. Even though it was CGI, the way how they pulled it off, I mean, kudos to the artists and the CGI people that were working on this. Even though Godzilla was entirely CGI, the level of detail that they achieved for, again, like 15 million for that amount of money, like kudos to them.
Yeah. Just they did.
Pretty sure they made their budget back the day of release.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it made 26 million before it released in the US and just Japan.
They made
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was came out November 1st in Japan.
Well, yeah, they definitely or made it back on the first. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Also, too, here's another thing. Did you know that the original time frame for U.S. theaters was only 1 week?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It was only
and they
supposed to be like
Yeah.
December 7th was
Yeah.
like the last day.
And, well, it was only like what 1,400 theaters, and then it went up to like almost 3,000 theaters before they pulled it out. Which the only reason they pulled it out is because they can't have a legendary film and a Toho film in the theater the same year.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think they got one movie left with Godzilla after this one.
Yeah, because of
Yeah.
rights issues.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
for 5 films. The Toho let them have
Yep.
it for 5 films.
Yeah.
So another thing too is at one point in the box office, you had 2 Japanese movies in the top 3 spots. You had Boy and the Heron as number 1, and then you had Godzilla Minus One as number 3. And just thinking about that, it's like just amazing. Like, it shows, again, people want just good movies. They want to, relax and enjoy themselves. But like to think that the Boy and the Heron would have not even competed with Godzilla if not for so many people like asking about having it more theaters, and having the theatrical run, be extended. So like it's just something amazing. It's nice to actually see that Toho themselves distributed this movie in its very first movie. They self-distributed. Usually they have a third party do it for Godzilla movies, and so the gamble kind of paid off for them, because they reap all the money from it.
So to counter his point, do you think Minus One would have been as big of a box office success if not for the MonsterVerse?
I
Wow.
don't. I part of me would say it would be still a big success, despite even if the MonsterVerse didn't exist. Because like I said, Steph, my friend, Normies of Normies, even she wanted to go see it.
Right.
I think it would maybe not as big of a success as it amounted to, but I still see it being successful even without the MonsterVerse movies.
Yeah. So I didn't even know Shin existed until Minus One started dropping trailers, and I started looking online. I'm like, wait, there's another Godzilla movie from Toho, and I'm like, oh my god, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually had to travel for Shin Godzilla. I had to travel all the way to a while. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, that was a pretty limited.
I was unable
release.
to see Shin Godzilla when it came out.
Yeah,
I had to go like 2 hours away.
I was only able to see
Monroeville.
2 years ago.
Still did more worldwide than Minus One, by about $5 million. But that was 2 years on the heels of
Minus One actually.
The last look, it was 75 million.
Shin Godzilla just finally got beat by Minus One recently.
Yeah.
Did they finally? I just looked and
They actually said that they beat their or Minus One actually beat their thing.
Yeah, Minus One had like 16 times the theater engagements though.
It was a few days ago.
Yeah.
Well,
But yeah, this movie.
Go ahead.
Is he
Yes.
Yep, it froze a bit.
yeah.
Yes.
You were saying, Marchet? You kind of froze a little.
You froze up there, bud.
Yeah.
He might need to leave and come back.
Yeah.
Welcome to Streamyards.
Yes. Yeah.
I pay them every month.
Yeah, really. But yeah, for Shin Godzilla, I had to travel. I had to actually find the theater. It was like 2 hours away from me in Monroeville, and I was actually
Skip
able to
out,
see
and I'm
it.
going to try to come back in.
Right. Yeah. So that's how it was for my buddy that lives outside of London. To see Minus One, he had to travel like an hour and a half to go see it. And I posted a review, and he's like, "Okay, and which Rivers does some great stuff on his own. He's like, all right, I'm going to go see it now. He's like, I'll take the 1.5-hour drive to go watch it. And he messaged me back. He's like, yes, that was an excellent movie.
Luckily, it showed relatively close to where I live, and my theater experience going there is basically my siblings and I have a group chat. So we're all like going back and forth, what the show time, because like one of my brothers was going to buy the tickets to make it like simple pretty much, so we didn't have to worry about being able to sit together. It's going to be at this theater, this show time, and we're like making plans. My sister and I get there. We know that the one brother's already there, the one who bought the tickets. And as we're pulling into the parking lot, we get this text from the other brother. We're going to this theater, right? And it's the theater way north of where we are. And we're
that's like typical family shit.
Yeah. We're like, no, it's this theater where we're at. And it's like, oh, it's at this showtime, right? And we're like, no, it's in 10 minutes.
That's funny.
So,
well, that's like my wife and I, we went to visit. We were visiting Pittsburgh, and we were going to the movie theater, and she decided to go see Boy and the Heron because she's a big anime fan, and I ended up seeing Godzilla Minus One again, and I was still amazed because the first time I saw it was a packed theater in my area, and then the second time in Pittsburgh that I got to see it, it was a packed theater, and it had already been out for a while, and I was just like, wow, this I've never really seen this happened with Godzilla movie. And I've been a Godzilla fan, pretty much my whole life. And it's like, even with the MonsterVerse movies, I a lot of times didn't see the theaters that full, even with like Godzilla versus Kong. So the word of mouth really, really helped this movie. It really did.
Yeah, this was Guardians of the Galaxy all over again. Guardians of the Galaxy was a failure out the door, and the word of mouth actually helped it almost make money.
Yes.
Because it picked up steam, and Godzilla continued to pick up steam. I took my 76-year-old mom to go watch this, and I'm like, no one wants to go. Do you want to go watch Godzilla? And she's like, oh, it's a Godzilla movie. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to go watch it. And I look over at the end, and she's got like tears in her eyes.
Yeah.
Like like you did something there. Like,
yes,
you got Wookiee shed a tear even watching it the second time. I will admit.
And one of the experiences I had was when I first saw it in my area, there was actually a Japanese family behind me, and throughout the movie, they actually laughed at like the jokes that I didn't pick up on. Maybe must have been a cultural thing, but at the end of the movie, I turned back and I saw the gentleman there. He had like tears running down his face, and I actually got to talk to him after the movie was over. And he said, my grandmother lived in Tokyo during World War II. And he said everything that they talked about in that movie is completely true. Like the desperation, the trying to carry on with nothing. He remembers stories that she would tell him. And he said it was just so impactful. And then also Koichi, decided to live, and it was very powerful for him. He really respected that movie, and it's so interesting getting that perspective. Especially again too, they were laughing at a lot of there was a lot of actually comedy he said in that movie, but a lot of I didn't get to pick up on it because culturally speaking, there's I didn't pick up on it.
I will say, as an American that never experienced post-World War II Japan, I appreciated seeing this stuff and feeling the realism of it. And, as Americans, we're jaded. We've never been defeated as a nation and all this other things, all this other bull crap we want to believe and everything else we may one day see. I really appreciated seeing things from that perspective. I actually felt I felt sad watching these people having to rebuild their lives, and they were able to emotionally connect you to that.
Right. Yeah.
As someone who likes history films every now and then,
and
the way how they depicted
actually something that
post-war Japan, they did a really good job.
Yeah, I love history and stuff,
ahead.
but you never really see a lot of history on post World War II Japan. You'll find all kinds of stuff on the guy that goose stepped everywhere, but it's really hard to find any information on post World War II Japan when you go through documentaries and stuff like that. I actually hope this stirs a wanting to see that stuff, because I would like to watch it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting time period, post-war Japan, and a lot of people don't talk about. You hear a lot from Europe after World War II, but you don't hear that much about Japan. And it was actually General MacArthur should have most of the credit of what all he had to do to essentially rebuild the nation from the ground up. It's really interesting. Another thing too is one of the reasons why even today there's U.S. bases in Japan, and the reason why the military occupation of Japan by the U.S. was such a huge deal was actually the threat of communism. You had China and Russia pretty much right at the borders, and as you would see in actual history, Korea would be split over communism, and so the Japanese bases were a great staging area for a lot of that. So, geographically speaking, it was a very important place to hold on to.
Yeah. Hey, if anybody knows any good documentaries, post them in the chat. I'll go check them out.
Is Orange back? I think this is Mike on.
It says his mic's muted.
Oh.
Does he have the StreamYard bug, or is his internet taking a shit?
Mike, I don't know.
He keeps freezing. He's roboting on us.
Test.
There you go. You're back.
I can hear you.
I can hear you, but
Not your screen.
Okay, I'm back.
okay, I can hear him.
Yeah.
I'm on a Chromebook, so yeah. I'm
Understand.
on a Chromebook. It sucks. Sorry.
It's all right.
So, Neozoic asked top
So,
5 favorite Godzilla
am I coming in
films.
clearly? Or
Yes. Yeah, you are now.
Okay, now you are.
Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
okay, because it sounds like am I delayed in any way? Because it sounds like it might be delayed.
Yeah, a
You're still
little
like-
bit.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
still doing
very
the
much so.
dance.
Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to freaking fix it. Let me see what I can do here. But give your top 5s if you can, or start with Jade.
This one makes it up there, and there's a couple. While not good, just hold special places in my heart, and that's Godzilla versus Megalon, with the sentient robot that can grow 100 times its size somehow, and Jet Jaguar. The original Godzilla versus Kong, because that was the first Godzilla film that I watched. My dad.
Same here.
My dad bought it actually for my brother. My brother was sick. He's like, "Oh, I think you'll like this," and that was the first one that we watched. Let's see. I'd say Godzilla 1999, Godzilla 2000, the one where that one pre Shin Godzilla, and then the original Gojira 1954.
Yeah. Well, for mine, it's Godzilla 1985. That will always be my very first Godzilla movie. And my dad got it for me because he knew I liked dinosaurs. Have to be, the original Gojira, minus one, GMK, Godzilla Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack. That's the full title. Very long-winded. And I actually liked Godzilla's Revenge, which is actually a dream movie with Godzilla's son.
Yeah.
And that one holds a special place in my heart because I remember being really, really sick. And, my mom turned on the TV and just happened to be the movie that was on. And I just loved that movie. And I know it gets a lot of flack, but like for what it is, it was really good. So yeah, that would be my top 5.
My top 5, I'd have to go with.
All right, how is this? Am I coming in good?
Yeah, you're coming in
A
good
lot
now.
better.
Yeah, better.
He changed dimensions.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd have to go.
Yeah,
bottom-
I went
bottom
to
5, I'd have to
this
go. King Ghidorah versus Godzilla. That was a fun movie. It just went a little long. I would probably have to go Final Wars.
Uh-huh.
Let's see what else is there. I actually really enjoyed Millennium. I really did like Godzilla 2000. I really did like that movie. The human element was a little weak, but the alien fights at the end was pretty good.
Uh-huh.
Then it's going to have to be 2014 Monsterverse. Some reason I really enjoy that movie. I don't know why. I just really enjoy it. And it's kind of weird. Like you have brother and sister kissing in the Marvel universe at the end of the movie. Like it's
That was kind of
weird.
brought up.
It's kind of weird, but you have Walter White selling meth to his wife that dies in the Thomas tunnel. It's kind of when you look at modern times, it's kind of really weird. But I really like the ground level version of Godzilla in that movie. And then it's gonna have to be Shin, and then it's gonna have to be Minus One.
In my case, I'd probably have to go with like you mentioned, Wookie, Godzilla versus King Ghidorah as one of them. Then I'd have to go with what was it? Godzilla versus Destroyer for my second. Third would definitely have to be Minus One in this case. And then I'd go with the OG Godzilla itself, 1954. And as for the last one, I'd have to put with Shin Godzilla in this case.
Yeah.
As for me, my top 5 is, well, Minus One is definitely my number 1. Number 2 is the 1954 original Gojira, because that is what got me hooked to Godzilla in the first place. Number 3 is Shin Godzilla. Number 4 is Godzilla King of the Monsters. And number 5, I would say, is Godzilla versus Mothra. The one where you have the twin larvas spinning him up.
Oh yeah,
Or
that.
spinning him up
Yeah,
in webs.
You also have that in Wizard
Because
of
that was the second.
Final Mecha Godzilla too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I love Godzilla movies, or all the Godzilla movies that I have seen. I'm actually going to be checking out for the first time Godzilla versus Biollante. I finally managed to find a place where I can see that. I'm going to have to get Captain Jack Sparrow to come sit with me again, sadly for it. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But, yeah, for top 5, it's definitely those ones. Because King of the Monsters from the Monsterverse, I love how they went back to his original fins, and they actually explained why, because, or in a connecting, in an interconnected comic with the Muto Prime, as well as they did Ghidorah very well.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
when Ghidorah comes out of the ice, it's like, holy shit, that's awesome. Not to
They
mention, I
did
can
Ghidorah
actually
death
still
quite
get emotional
well.
watching that movie, especially during the
Yes.
Mothra sequences.
Yes.
They did quite well with the Ghidorah's death on that
I mean,
too.
when or
yeah.
I'm actually a person that I actually tear up during a couple sequences, especially there when music and action in the movie hit the right mix. Like when the Argos coming right out of the clouds in the middle of Godzilla team hit or shooting at Ghidorah, that just it's like, damn, that hits
Yes.
you, man.
Yes.
Then you have
Yes.
Mothra coming out like a freaking meteor coming out of the clouds. It just really hits. It's like, holy shit, man. She may be a perfect. Holy shit, they did a really good job on it. But yeah,
I'm a
I'm
very
definitely
emotional
looking
watcher.
into seeing Godzilla versus Biollante.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
looking or going to be checking that out in the next couple days.
Yeah, I still remember when King of the Monsters was announced, and the fact that they actually got the rights to King Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra as well.
Mhm.
That was like a dream for every Godzilla fan, because it's like you finally get the classic, you know, monsters, and these were always considered the big four of the Tokusatsu Toho lineup. So you know, it's just, and they were very expensive to get. You know, the whole studio said that if they had a choice, they all said that they would like to have all the other ones, but the licensing fees were so so steep just for those four. They said nope, we can't do it.
Yeah, fun geek tidbit though. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it to Orange Hat a few times, but when I went over to Japan World Heroes back in August, I missed a really opportune time to talk with the 3 motion capture guys that did Ghidorah's heads, and I was like, oh, because one thing I knew for certain. David Fielding, who did Zordon for Power Rangers, he is a huge Ghidorah fan. And I was like, when I saw those 3, I was like, dude, did you just realize you missed the opportunity to talk with those guys? Plus, you could have told Mr. Fielding about it. I was like, oh, man. Missed opportunity.
But yeah.
Well, is there any last thoughts that we want to give on Godzilla Minus One?
Godzilla.
Yeah.
Let's get a Godzilla movie, please. Same style. Very impressive. So if you read the novelization, everyone dies. They all have severe radiation poisoning, just from being near the atomic blast. Everything is so, like when you see like the black rain falling on his face, he's dead.
Yeah,
he's pretty much dead. He had severe radiation poisoning. If you're experiencing that, you're dead. So they go through that. I would be more interested to see what's going on with her neck, because that's not a neck goiter. A neck goiter presents in the front. It doesn't present on the side. It doesn't look like a tattoo.
Well, I believe it's like radiation poisoning because she was in the path of the blast.
But there's nothing that says that is radiation poisoning.
So
is that G cells, because they go into G cells in the later movies, and all this.
It could be that. It could be that. It's just.
Yeah, like it could be a very interesting thing, or they could just all be dead in the next movie. It could be a Kiko that goes to the next thing in 30 years. I'm interested to see where it goes. I think this director did a great job. He also personally designed Godzilla, which I think he did a great job of. The atomic blast was amazing. I thought that because he looked painful. It really didn't look like he was having fun doing that shit like he does in Legendary.
Yeah, when you see it like pop up though, like when I saw that, I was like, oh boy, this is gonna hurt a lot.
Yeah. So, and I like the idea that whatever it hits causes an atomic blast instead of just it blowing through stuff, or like Shin, where it's just like cutting through buildings. I'm interested to see what they come up with next. And I'm really hoping Toho, like after the 5th film, they sever ties with Legendary, and they're already starting to produce their own films and release them in the United States, and we'll see where it goes. They have a franchise building now. They've gathered a lot of new people from Legendary. And I think people are going to find Toho is better than Legendary is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fan head cannon.
Well, technically, Oppenheimer
What?
did create Godzilla.
Yeah,
Technically, yeah.
Yeah.
Arguably.
There's a cutout there on Twitter or YouTube of like the it's like Oppenheimer episode 2, and it shows like Godzilla being born. Now, not downplaying Oppenheimer. Oh, I thought it was an excellent movie. I thought it took too many chances. It should have gone for the PG-13 rating and skipped the nude smoking scene. It probably would have helped it in the box office a little bit.
Haven't seen it yet, so
Yeah,
I haven't
I mean,
seen it yet.
if you like seeing the dude from
But-
Peaky Blinders naked,
Not particularly.
no, he crosses his legs, so you can't see it. There might be a little sack sticking out.
So I think my brother enjoyed it, but yeah, it's like technically, Oppenheimer is responsible essentially for the creation of Godzilla, so it would be a prequel.
Yeah.
Why couldn't why couldn't we have Oppenziller instead of Oppen Barbie or Barbenheimer?
So many people have actually said that. It's like too bad Minus One didn't release at the same time Oppenheimer did, because you literally would have the creation of the atomic bomb and then Godzilla.
Yeah,
Oppenzilla.
Oh yeah, that would have been good.
Alrighty. So, any other final thoughts?
Final thoughts is just, I'm just looking forward to see where they take this. I was I was on Talk Nerdy stream, and like when the director or the writer, one of the two or both, said we're going to take our time, develop a story. We're not just going to churn something out just because you all want a sequel. We want to make sure the story works. We want to make sure that we get the right actors and everything. I'm like, good, take your time.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Please just don't wait too long. I don't want to like a Top Gun Maverick situation where we're waiting 30 years, or it feels like 30 years for the sequel to come out.
Well, no, they're already working on it, so maybe 5 years. You're gonna have it's gonna be like a year and a half where you're gonna be able to get a 4K steel case in the United States.
I mean, like someone also,
But yeah,
it was a studio or just someone, a black and white version of the movie, and I'm like, please just release it along with the color version, because that would be incredible.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah, put it on the steelbook, more.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
go ahead.
I was just going to do my final thoughts on Godzilla Minus One. I think this movie came at just the right time in just the right time frame, that it had so many moviegoers and movie lovers, even if they didn't like Godzilla movies. It just came at the right time where it felt like Hollywood was at its lowest, and this movie came in sweeping in to fill in the gap that everyone so wanted to see in a movie, and it just was like the perfect storm. And I think even Toho might have been surprised by the reaction. And so, that being said, and I agree with what Mara Jade said. Jade Shadow, I mean, that they should take their time. Get the right script, get the right cast, get the right story. It's clear to me that they wrote the characters for this movie first and then did Godzilla. That's what it really feels like, and I think they should stick with that formula. Write the characters first, get the good story, and then use Godzilla as a tool for the story. And I think I'm looking forward to see what they have in store. But just remember, there's plenty of other Godzilla films to watch. While we wait for that one, and then with Godzilla X Kong coming out, we'll still have plenty of Godzilla films to watch, and we can always rewatch them. So it's really looking forward to what's next.
Alrighty. My final thoughts on this one versus Shin is that the dialogue was done at such a pace where you can read all of what was on the screen and not have to pause every 5 seconds to read what they were saying if you were watching the dub version. This only has a dubbed or the sub version, so that's actually how I would prefer this movie going forward. I do not want an English dub version, and for me to say that means a lot because I've always been a dubber. I have always been a dubber, and I own the English dub version for Shin Godzilla, but I've watched the sub version, and it's like I gotta freaking pause every 5 fucking seconds. So goddamn.
Yeah, the dialogue was fast for that one.
But
I didn't have an issue with it.
this movie, this movie, they did it perfect. Objectively speaking, score-wise, I would put this movie at a 9 to a 9.5. There was a little bit of shoddiness on some of the some digital shots. However, this movie had damn near flawless writing, great acting. The score is it's hard not to enjoy this movie. Even casual Godzilla fans love this movie. Friggin' casual moviegoers love this movie. It was really a refreshing thing to have in this time of shit Hollywood. I mean, what's his name from Jurassic Park said it best, man. But in this case, describing Hollywood, that is a real big pile of shit. And what came out of Japan just basically took that shit and said, move over. We got a piece, or we got a gold nugget here that we're going to give people. And I want to thank Toho, the people of Japan, the cast, the crew, everybody who worked on this film. You do have, as fans of Godzilla, you have our utmost gratitude because you did something that a lot of people have been wishing for 8 freaking years. And that's to see a good movie. And that is to go to the theater, have a wonderful freaking movie experience. And honestly, that is some of the best stuff. So if there's anything else left, I'm going to do our outro here. Is there anything that anybody wants to plug? We'll start with Jade Shadow first.
Well, tomorrow I'll be live on my Kick playing the finals. Don't know if I'll be doing a Twitch stream or not Saturday, but Saturday should be Talk Nerdy to Us. That'll be on my Nerdy Homes channel. We do it at 9 p.m. Eastern. Then following week, basically Kick schedule gaming. Wednesday, but up until Wednesday when we do the 1s and 2s, that I do with Orange Chat, and the first of the 1s and 2s is National Treasure because we're doing a Nick Cage New Year. So National Treasure next Wednesday, and then the following Thursday, the singles will be Con Air. And then the following week will be National Treasure 2, and then The Rock. So
Nice.
Alrighty. Wookie Be Bad, anything you want to plug?
You can go check out my -1 video that I did. It's got pretty good ratings on it so far. I also just dropped a video talking trash about Disney and Star Wars. It's only about a 4-minute rant. Other than that, look for videos to come out. Echo's coming out. We have, I have a whole whiteboard over here of movies and films coming out to review and trash. Now, if they're good, I won't trash them, but that's how it works. But yeah, so just check my channel occasionally for new reviews.
In my case, I
Skyhound,
recently
anything you want to?
Yeah. So in my case, I recently tried doing my rough understanding of the final chapter of Sailor Moon, which is Cosmos. And I did give my rough interpretation through the non-spoiler, even though my Japanese is limited. I will eventually try to do one for subs. But as for how that's going to work, I'm going to have to ask a friend of mine to help me with that. In addition to that, I did mention a while ago when we started, there's story that I was going to be trying to cover. In this case, I mentioned in one of my tweets, I'm actually wanting to try to do 007. However, I'm going to be starting with the one that I got introduced to, which is Brosnan. So in this case, I'll be trying to do a double review. So I'll do the first two films, GoldenEye, and then Tomorrow Never Dies. And then later on, I'll be doing The World Is Not Enough and finally Die Another Day. So once those are done, then eventually I'll start going into the guy that started it all, which is, of course, the late Sean Connery with Dr. No. And I put in my community notes, or at least one of the posts I did, once I finish with Dr. No, I'm going to leave it to the viewers to go which ones do you want me to do after that? So I'm basically going to be trying to cover at least a good chunk of 007 within this month.
G-Fan, anything you want to plug?
Really, the only plugs I want to do is really give it to you guys. Please follow Orange, Jade, Wookie, Skyhound. Please follow them. Give them all your support. I'm not really on YouTube. I just come on once in a while to say hi, chat with Orange, shoot the shit, that kind of thing. But I appreciate. I'm sure they would appreciate you guys' support. And continued support as well too. So,
Thank you.
And as for me, I got Orange Hat Uncensored might be or might not be happening now that our vehicle is repaired, and I usually go to pick up my stepbrother after work or when he's done work. So streams at night are going to be on a timer, so to speak, for the foreseeable future. So there might not be an Orange Hat Uncensored tomorrow. It all depends on what is going on. I do my weekly recap. I got a video out today on the woman director of the Ray film with zero IQ. I got that out today. Tomorrow, I might get something out. I might do a review depending on how I'm doing it. Right now, I'm also working on that Dark Marvel story that I'm putting a bunch of polls on my Twitter channel. If you guys want to interact, as in name the next victim, also if you want me to link you to that story so you can give it a read. It's probably better than anything Marvel is doing currently right now. I will link it to you. I will not do it publicly because if I do it publicly, Marvel will hit me with a lawsuit. So, yeah, I've been warned already. So, other than that, I also do next Tuesday is going to be Armageddon versus Deep Impact. I already did Fat Boy versus Violent Night last Tuesday, or this Tuesday that just passed. And other than that, Mara's channel for the ones and twos, my channel for the singles. And yeah, that's basically it. Anything else is, well, it's when I can get stuff out. But I do also want to thank everybody in the chat. Gravy D, Netcat, Vanya, Megatron, Trey, Alex, Memes, Soul Assassin, Soul Extraction, Kongzilla, and everybody in the chat. You guys are freaking awesome and amazing people. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm still trying to get the 1,500 subs for my birthday. If I could get it before February 1st, a stream and a celebration stream for 1,500 subs. So if you can get me there, that's awesome. And if not, well, it's always until the end of the year as a as a goal. But anyway, thank you to Mara Jade, G-Fan, Look, and Skyhound for joining tonight. Make sure that you sub to all these folks. They're good people, and tune into their stuff as it goes on. I'm going to be hitting the sack soon, folks. I got to take care of a few things before that. But thank you to everybody. Y'all are awesome. Have a wonderful night. And always remember to stay humble. Later.